losing objective apples.
On est tiens, peine l'air.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god.
We have lost objective apples.
What's up, you guys? Hope you're all having a great day as I am. Before we start off, just letting you know this video is going to be about my history with gaming from when I was a kid all the way to where I am now. And before we actually go into that, I wanted to let you guys know about the gameplay in the background. It is Battlefield 1, it's actually Operations. I'm going to be honest with you guys, I haven't played Battlefield like hardcore since the Battlefield 3 days. And Battlefield 4 wasn't the game for me, but when I came over to Battlefield 1, I was like, okay, let's see what happens here. Hopefully it doesn't throw me off or anything. And I played it, and I'm going to be honest, I have thoroughly been enjoying it. Like, normally when I come home, it's usually just come home, play Counter-Strike. And now I'm coming home, and I'm like, should I play Battlefield 1 or should I play Counter-Strike? And that normally doesn't happen, even with any other games that I've enjoyed. I still want to play Counter-Strike first. And with Battlefield 1, just haven't wanted to. Anyways, let's go ahead and get into the commentary. Before we do, make sure you guys drop a like and a comment, of course. And then as per the comment down what was one of your old school favorite games, like when you guys were much younger. I don't care what it is. It could be on the old Nintendo system, Atari, PlayStation, Game Boy, you name it. I'm cool with that. I want to hear what games you guys used to play. So let's get this started. So when I first started playing games, that was around the Nintendo era, and I was playing like Super Mario Bros. 3 and the old Super Mario games on the old Nintendo systems. I used to absolutely love those games. And back then, it wasn't like you could just, go to the internet and find out about the warp flutes in Super Mario Bros. 3. This is something where you either had to figure it out or have known somebody that actually knew how to do that already, or you had to go out and buy one of those magazines. I think it was the Game Shark magazines, if I remember correctly, just to understand how to do certain things, like the walkthroughs or the little secrets in the game, because they had details on literally everything. Man, I'm going to be honest, I remember those days very well, and it was a lot of fun playing those games. But afterwards, I was playing on the Sega, I believe it was the Sega Genesis, and I was playing Street Fighter. It was Street Fighter and Sonic, by far two of my favorite old school games. I'm not a huge Street Fighter fan anymore, but the old school Street Fighters I can still play all the time. Now, my favorite era of gaming for me was actually the N64. The N64 was top-notch, best gaming ever, especially with like friends. It was so casual, it was just so much fun when you could just come home, play it, and just get that out of your system. And nowadays, like when I play now, I'm coming home to play competitive games. I'm coming home and my mind is set on that. But when I would come home and play N64, it was just so much fun compared to anything else. It was just overall fun. I remember playing Banjo-Kazooie, GoldenEye. Oh my gosh, I'm trying to remember. Super Mario Bros. 64 was good, but I preferred the Banjo-Kazooie. So after that, when I was about 10, I moved in with my dad, and he had a PlayStation, the old PS1 systems. Now, I'm a horrible person for saying this, but we used to have bootleg copies of every single game. And I'm talking any Need for Speed game that you can imagine. I mean, we even played, I believe it was Crash Bandicoot. Crash Bandicoot was so much fun, but I had all of them, and then I also had all the racing games, had all the Need for Speeds, and the one game that you guys probably will not recognize that I'm about to say here is Spawn. Now, some of you guys may or may not know what that is, but it's an old school movie back in the past. This was, it was 1998, I believe, or 1996 when it came out. And it was like, he was like a superhero, but he was super, super evil, basically, because he went to hell and everything, but he wanted to be a good guy. And they actually made a game for this, and it was actually pretty fun, surprisingly. Now, after I was done with the PS1, of course, I got a PS2, and I played all the games on that. I remember playing Soul Calibur 3 and all the Soul Caliburs, Final Fantasies, you name it. I mean, but going back to the PS1 here really quick, Final Fantasy VII was by far my favorite game, but I played it mostly on the PS2 when I had gotten it. Now on PS2 I played just about everything. I played the old school, I believe it was old school Call of Duties if I remember correctly, that were on the PS2. And then I played a bunch of other games too. I just can't remember them off the top of my head for right this second. Like Spyro the Dragon I think is one that I can remember, but I think I played that one on the PS1. Didn't really play any of the sequels that were after that. Now, after the PS2, of course, came the Xbox 360. Now, when I got the Xbox 360, for me, the game that I thoroughly enjoyed playing would be Halo 3 and Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. Those were my two main games whenever I used to play back then. And believe it or not, I did play Battlefield games on the Xbox 360. I remember playing Bad Company and Bad Company 2. I think those were the two games that I played on the Xbox 360. If I remember correctly, I actually downloaded the trials for it because they gave you like a 5-hour or 10-hour trial back then if you had Xbox Live. And what I would do is I would play it and then I would actually make a new gamer tag and then go play it again. And I would keep doing that. And I really got into Battlefield back then, but of course it didn't really blow up into what it is now for me at least. Now, outside of the Xbox 360, that's when I started getting into PC gaming. This is when it first started off. And I remember one of the first PC games that I had ever played has to be, oh man, you guys are going to hate me for this, but it was RuneScape. I wasn't a huge World of Warcraft fan. I never got into World of Warcraft, but RuneScape was my go-to because somebody else down my street was playing it, so I ended up playing it with him. He was one of my good friends down there, and then I really got into playing it alone, and he moved away, and that's how we pretty much kept in touch, but I would play it all the time, and then at one point we just stopped talking, so then I just kept playing it, and with RuneScape, I was on a grind in that game. I'm talking like I could play it 8 hours a day, every single day for 3 months straight. It was nuts how much I would be playing that game back then. But, of course, with any game, you have to get tired of it. And the problem with RuneScape and me was that I would get tired of it, and then I'd come back 3 months later, then I'd get tired of it and come back 3 months later, and that kept happening over and over the course of like 5 or 6 years. Mind you, this was back in 2005. I pretty much started back when RS2, or RS Classic was a thing. Now, outside of RuneScape, I ended up getting into a bunch of other games once I hit my college years. My first year of college, I remember I got into like StarCraft 2, I Wanna Be the Guy, a bunch of PC games, and even Left 4 Dead. I remember that game, playing that game back then too with a lot of friends. But the game that I was really into in college was StarCraft and StarCraft 2. I remember what we used to do is in college we would set up a little LAN in the library with a bunch of friends, and we'd be playing StarCraft over there, you know, doing Zerg rushes and everything in the middle of the library, and they're like, be quiet, and we're just over there yelling at people. Oh my gosh, yeah, those were good times. I have quite a few stories from them too. Now, once I left college back when I lived in Vegas, I actually moved to where I am now, and that's when I got another Xbox 360. Now, when I got my next Xbox 360, I got into playing Black Ops 1. Now, Black Ops 1 was one of my favorite games of all time because I was very competitive in it. To be honest, probably more than I am in Counter-Strike. I used to do game battles and everything on that game. I actually used to be a fairly good player at Black Ops 1. I used to have a 9.0 KD, a 40.0 win-loss. Basically, I would be playing with people where when you came across a team like the people that I played with, you backed out of the lobby. And I loved doing that. The only thing that I hated is you'd be sitting there in a lobby alone for maybe 5 or 10 minutes before you found 6 people stupid enough to face your team. And I used to love doing that. Now, after Black Ops 1, that's when I got into Battlefield 3. Now, I played Battlefield 3 on the Xbox 360 at first, and I loved the 6-on-6 gameplay that was back then. Or I think it was 12-on-12 is what it maxed out on Xbox 360, if I remember correctly. But the only map that was fun was North Shore Canals. So, of course, after that, and after I realized that on PC you could do 64-player maps, you know, I was like, okay, I have to get an actual good PC. So I went out and bought a $500 PC from one of my friends at my work, and the PC that I got was a really basic AMD PC, but it could play Battlefield. And I remember downloading Battlefield 3, and on that system, I could play on low settings and get about 50 FPS, and I was actually really surprised about that. But I got really into Battlefield 3, and that's when my whole YouTube and Twitch started and everything, and I started building up my PC, and Battlefield 3 was just the game that started everything for me here on PC. Now, after Battlefield 3, I ended up moving, of course, to a couple other games here and there, and I would play them for, you know, the live stream and everything, but nothing really could get me off of Battlefield 3. And then when Battlefield 4 came out, of course, you know, it was another Battlefield game, so I wanted to play it. I played it for maybe the first month, and to be honest, I just wasn't a huge fan of it. So of course I moved away from it and moved over to Counter-Strike. Now, to be blatantly honest with you guys, I was a crappy player at Counter-Strike 2 years ago. So when I first started, I was like silver 3 on average. It was horrific. But I've worked my way up in Counter-Strike now. After about a year and a half of literally just focusing as much as I can on the game and getting as good as I can, I made it all the way up to a global elite at one point, and then I moved over to ESEA on it. Because I actually wanted to start playing at much higher levels beyond global and playing alongside extremely good players that get good. Now, at the point that I'm at now, you know, I love playing other games. I love playing, you know, Fallout 4, Call of Duty Black Ops 3. I've actually enjoyed that quite a bit, playing that with my girlfriend on her Xbox One and stuff. And there's quite a few games that I've actually downloaded to my computer, like old school retro games and stuff that I love playing. But right now, my primary 2 games when I come home is going to be Counter-Strike and Battlefield 1. Now, to be honest, I'm probably going to be on that Battlefield 1 hype for a little while longer, probably for another good month or 2, because I'm going to be, like I said, it's such a good game. I can't go away from it. It looks beautiful, it plays really well, and it's just so much better than any of the other Battlefields. Like, I thought Battlefield 3 was good, and at the end of the day, you know, Battlefield 3 was one of the best Battlefield games in my opinion, beyond Bad Company 2 or even, you know, older Battlefield games. But Battlefield 1 is just right. It's so much better than Battlefield 4. Battlefield Hardline, I'm not even going to talk about that. Just Battlefield 1 is just good. So now I'm having that debate, of course, when I come home, which one I should play. And then I have to decide whether or not I want to record it or live stream it, so on and so forth. If you guys have any games that you guys used to play or any games that you guys want to see, please let me know. I actually want a heads up on that because I'd be more than happy to play some of those games. Anyways, guys, it was a pleasure going over this commentary, story time, whatever you guys want to call it, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Peace out, guys. It's going down.
Hey.